Hello, this is a quick follow-up to my Matsukiri video about visualizing DP generation. SilverAsh the Reignfrost has just released on the global server, and a couple of his skills are pretty interesting. In my last video, I discussed the reasons why you would consider putting a vanguard on your team, and placed Matsukiri towards the DP generation end of the chart that's on screen right now. SilverAsh the Reignfrost, however, sits much further down this scale. He's still good if you need DP, but most people will find a lot of his value in the damage and utility he brings. I bring this up because, like before, this video should not be viewed as a guide to which of his skills is better, or commentary on whether or not SilverAsh is good. I will briefly touch on what his skills offer, but this video is primarily focused on impact to DP and DP costs. On a side note, having played with Matsukiri a lot more since my last video, I think he should be further down this chart. Not to the level of SilverAsh, but maybe around the level of Pioneers. But I'm getting sidetracked. Like my last video, I'm going to be using Myrtle's S1 and Enos's S2 as benchmarks, since those are the vanguards most people are familiar with. Real DP generation is depicted with solid lines, while DP impacts that are more theoretical are shown with dashed lines. Also, as a reminder, Enos's and SilverAsh's charts will be shown assuming they are at potential 1. SilverAsh's S1 is an auto-activation skill that is very similar to Matsukiri's S1. On skill activation, it provides 10 real DP, plus an additional DP cost reduction of 5. Just like with Matsukiri, if you aren't able to make use of the cost reductions, SilverAsh's DP generation falls roughly in line with Pioneers. However, if you are able to make use of the affected operators, the effective DP generation falls just behind Myrtle's. For comparison, here's SilverAsh's S1 versus Matsukiri's S1. As a reminder, Matsukiri is assumed to be max potential since he is a welfare unit. Overall, SilverAsh's S1 offers all the benefits of Matsukiri's S1, but with an extra barrier effect. The prioritization rules for who gets the DP cost reduction are also different, which may or may not be beneficial to you, depending on your squad and what you're trying to do. SilverAsh's S2's DP impact is roughly in line with Myrtle's S1 and a perfectly optimized Enos S2. It also offers a large amount of damage, cold infliction, and invisibility removal, with some flexibility to where those effects are applied. One thing to note here is that this skill does not generate any real DP. The impact on DP is 100% from cost reductions. As always, the theoretically large DP impact of this skill is entirely dependent on you being able to actually use the impacted operators. If you're not able to effectively use the cost reductions, you don't have any real DP generation to fall back on, making this skill somewhat restrictive when it comes to operator placements. Finally, we have SilverAsh's S3. This skill has a pretty lackluster real DP generation. It starts off being roughly in line with Myrtle's. However, the trouble starts when his first skill activation ends. This skill has a whopping 55-second SP cost, so it will quickly lag behind more traditional DP generation skills. The real value of this skill, at least while discussing deployment points, is the one-time DP cost swapping mechanic, which switches costs between a low and high cost operator. Since the skill prioritizes guards, casters, and snipers, the biggest DP swing you can realistically expect is swapping a 3 DP robot with a 34 DP potential 1 6-star blast caster like Ifrit, a total swing of 31 DP. This graph shows the additional impact of that 31 DP swing. There's also been a lot of talk about the SilverAsh and Ulpianus combo, So here's an extra graph showing that curve, assuming your Ulpianus is potential 1. One important thing to note here is that this is not a DP cost reduction. If you need to deploy the operator that had their DP increased, the net DP impact is 0. Assuming you don't deploy that operator, you are, in effect, giving up one squad slot for an upfront DP cost reduction. It's also worth noting that this skill could be used as a counter to challenge mode and contingency contract risks that double or triple the cost of certain classes of operators, at least for one operator. Since the skill is a full swap rather than a cost reduction, you can effectively pass the cost increase to an operator of a different class. Outside of the DP mechanics, this skill offers a lot of damage and utility that are arguably as valuable, if not more valuable, than the DP generation and cost swapping. As I said at the beginning of the video though, I'm not going to go in depth on those points here. This skill has way too many details. Okay, that's all I have to say here. If you haven't watched my previous video about Matsukiri and Vanguard DP generation, well, you can go find it yourself. I need to get to the store before it closes so I can get some hand warmers. It is way too cold here. Seriously.